We are ready to rock and roll on a beautiful Friday, coming to you live from Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. Every Friday we are here. You know, for like 9 years, we would do it every month here at Craig Zinn. Now we're here every Friday here. So I think that's kind of a way to celebrate our 10th year broadcasting here at Craig Zinn, that we're going to do it every Friday now here. So come on out every Friday morning. You can catch us out here. Usually by 8 a.m. we're here, but 9 to 11 on the air, of course. So we'll be out here for a couple of hours having some fun, watching folks drive off the lot with beautiful vehicles. It's a beautiful thing, as they say. Also, we'll have a couple of guests for you. Jim Nagy is going to join us, the Senior Bowl director, the Reese's Senior Bowl director. We will see him in a couple of weeks when we're up there for the Senior Bowl. I know my man Bill is all pumped up about going to the Senior Bowl. At 10:30, Andre Fernandez from The Athletic is going to join us, so we'll have a little fun with Andre, and we'll talk a little Heat basketball. Andre obviously is on the Heat beat for The Athletic, so we'll talk about that win last night against the Raptors, 84-76. We'll get into that on the program. We got a bunch of things that I want to get into. Jeff Sheesby, old man who bets, is going to join us later on, because from 1 to 4, we're going to be over at Hialeah Park. We do 2 broadcasts on Friday. We do 2 hours over here at Craig Zinn's. Then we go over to Hialeah Park and we do 3 hours over there in the afternoon. So we give you 5 hours of programming on Fridays. And again, every Friday from 1 to 4, you can catch us. We're going to be at the Champions Simulcast Center for 2 more weeks, this week and next week, because of the handicappers competition, which, by the way, next Sunday, Bill and I will be broadcasting from there for a little bit before we take off to the East-West Shrine game. So we'll be doing that also on the program. Got a bunch of things, man, all kinds of stuff. We had Tommy Rockers on yesterday talking about our Vegas show. So we've had a lot of things going on the program. All right. So we got a couple things that I definitely want to get into here on the program. By the way, congratulations to the Panthers last night. Their 6-3 win, 4 goals in the second period. That was just absolutely awesome. And then the Heat defeating the Raptors last night in an ugly game, but ugly and a W, I'll take. Beautiful and a W, I'll take. It's a W. That's all that matters. 84-76. They improved to 25-9. I believe they're like 16-1 or something stupid at home right now. Best home record in the NBA. So it was nice to see them. And they're 9-0 also after losses. So no losing streaks for this team. So congratulations all the way around. Now, one of the things that I want to get into, because this silly-ass subject continues to come on, and I got to tell you, look, nobody is a bigger Alonzo Highsmith fan than I am, okay? I just don't think this is the job for him. Now, if he's given up on the NFL, then that's a whole different ball game. If he thinks he's not going to get the opportunity that he well deserves and has earned already, I get that. Okay, I truly understand that. I mean, how can you fault anybody for that? Any of you out there, I'm sure you've experienced at one point or another a time where you felt like you earned something and you didn't get that opportunity, and it was passed over and it was given to other people, and it's happened to all of us. And it's just adversity that we all have to kind of find a way to overcome in life. And if that's the case for Alonzo Highsmith, then, hey, so be it. I'm supportive of it. But I will say this. this is not the job that you really want. I'm sorry. This is a desperation type move that to me doesn't make sense at all. And again, here's the thing. When people say, well, Manny's a young coach and he needs the help. You know how old Manny Diaz is? Do you know his age, Bill, by the way? Do you know the age of Manny Diaz? Oh, he's cutting up sound right now. So he can't hear me. He's got headphones on. But anyway, Manny's 45 years old. He's been in the coaching profession now for several years. Do you know Lincoln Riley is 36 years old? He's 9 years younger than Manny Diaz. How come he doesn't need help? Oh, and by the way, he runs a bigger program than Miami. He has more media, even in Norman, probably covering his team than Manny does in Miami. He certainly has a team that's in more demand than Miami. I'm just wondering, what's this young crap? Either, like I told you guys yesterday, either you can do the job or you can't. And if you have to hire Alonso to oversee this, to back check, to help, whatever, then you hired the wrong guy. Matt Rule turned down the Jets last year. And, he's done a really good job over at Baylor. He's in demand. He's 44. So he's a year younger than Manny. Here's a guy that's being considered for NFL jobs. And he's younger than Manny. And he's running a football program that doesn't have the history of Miami, but they're more relevant than Miami right now. I had some fans yesterday, and this happens to some fans out there, and I think some of you guys and ladies out there, you kind of need to wake up, and you got to understand and stop living in the past that Miami's job is not sexy. It's not. Some fans make it think like this is a job people line up for. Let me remind Miami fans that even in the height of when it was great, coaches came in as a stepping stone. Howard Schnellenberger didn't look at Miami for long term. Stepping stone. Jimmy Johnson, stepping stone. Dennis Erickson, stepping stone. They've all used it. Butch Davis, stepping stone. This is not a program that provides the coaches what they really need in order to succeed and what they really, really need to compete with Michigan and Alabama and Ohio State and Florida State and Florida, and I could just go on and on. Because you go to Baylor and you go to Texas, and those programs have way better facilities. They have everything better. The only thing that isn't better is the location. I'm just sorry, but that's just the way it is. So some fans make it sound like this is the most desirable place to be. And for a coach, it's not. You got to get off of this. And so when we talk about if Manny needs help, then you hired the wrong guy. That's all. Because Howard did it from scratch. Jimmy picked up the baton and kept going. So you can do it, but you got to know how to do it. And Manny Navarro, who joins us here every week on the show for our Canes Wear Miami Hurricanes report, he hit it. He knocked it out of the park. If you hire somebody at Miami, they have to be an experienced coach. And you can't keep doing – I know Al had some experience because he was at Temple, but small time. And you can't keep hiring the Randy Shannons and the Larry Cokers. You can't keep hiring the Al Goldens and the Manny Diaz. You can't. Hell, even Mark Richt, who had experience with a big-time program, wasn't even suited to turn this thing around to where it needed to be. That's the reality. And the problem is a lot of UM fans, you're stuck in the past. And then bringing Alonzo Highsmith, you think that that's the panacea to all of this, and it's not. And you're not going to solve the issue. If Manny's not good enough, he's not good enough whether Alonzo is here or not. Alonzo's not coaching these players. The players that are coming in, they don't even know who the hell Alonzo Highsmith is. That's the other thing that the fans that live in the past have to realize, that these kids, man, they only know Miami to be mediocre. The history of Miami is history. It's deep into the past, before these kids were born. That's the problem here. There's a huge disconnect. And the guy that you have to have running the program has to be a guy that can transcend and then bring it all together again. And so far, Manny hasn't proven that. And the only reason this Alonzo Highsmith stuff is coming up, it's because the AD is panicking, because he's now fearful that he made the wrong decision at head coach. And right now, that's the only way to look at it, because sadly, Manny Diaz has not lived up to it. But this whole thing that whether he's young and he needs help, and again, if you feel that way, you have answered your question already on what Manny Diaz is. What he is the wrong guy for the job. So we're going to have to, I mean, we're all hoping, and I'm with you guys there. I am praying for the greatest turnaround in college football history. And I'm not saying to win a national championship. I'm just saying from absolutely no hope, which is where I'm at now with Manny, unfortunately. After this season, how can I have hope? You got to be a blind-ass fan to just not pay attention to what happened in 19 and think that everything that went on was by mistake and an accident, that's not the real Manny Diaz. That won't be his teams. They will be completely the polar opposite this year. We'll see. We'll find out. But this whole crap about he's too young, give me a break, bro. Give me a freaking break. He's young and he needs help. You got the wrong guy. If that's how you like I said, you've answered your question. You now know how you feel about Manny Diaz. And that's what's going on with the athletic director. If he's thinking about this silly-ass move, it's not going to improve anything. Alonzo's not on the field to make a difference. And Alonzo's not going to help you out when you've got 2 weeks to prepare for a team or a month to prepare for a team. He's not coaching those guys. That's why. 786-322-1105. That's 786-322-1105. If you want to get in on the program, we do want to remind you that we're proudly brought to you by Choice Mortgage Bank, folks. And get right now, we can get you into state rates under 3.5%. And when you pick up that phone and dial 561-441-2730, you're going to get a man that is going to fight for you and going to get you the best deals possible. He's got a staff that is second to none. Please call Michael Kodsey. Don't let these mortgage companies give you the runaround. All right? Call him, 561-441-2730.
Plus tax, tech title. It includes $8.99 dealer fee on approved credit. Offers end 11/10/19.
Over 1,500 Toyotas are on the ground, and truckloads of new 2020 Toyotas just keep on coming. To eliminate all 2019 models, Toyota of Hollywood is holding the ultimate 2019 model year changeover event. Make us an offer, any offer, and you can buy a Toyota at up to 50% less than their original MSRP when new and used.
50% less.
A pre-owned 2019 RAV4, not $30,000, $19,775. A pre-owned 2019 Camry LE, not $26,000, $17,775. A pre-owned 2019 Corolla LE, not $22,000, $12,775. Pay up to 50% less at Toyota of Hollywood, the #1 volume Toyota dealer, based on total retail sales of new Toyotas in the Southeast region for 2014 to 2018 per SET, on 441 between Hollywood Boulevard and Sheridan Street. Open till midnight.
This is the Big O Show.
Welcome back.
This is the Big O Show.
Short stuff here so we can get back to a little sports talk for you, and we always appreciate it. And by the way, the program is brought to you by, listen, I got to tell you, the Vape and Smoke Shop and West Pines, Jose and all the great people out there, they are brand new sponsors, and they are listeners, longtime listeners and sponsors. And if you need your Vape and Smoke Shop needs, you got to go to, of course, West Pines Vape and Smoke Shop. And that is 954-613-3367 on Instagram and on Facebook at VSS West Pines. And whether it's CBD, folks, whatever you need, any kind of products that you need when it comes to CBD, they've got the coals, they've got the shisha, which is tobacco that is soaked in molasses or honey blend to add flavor and a burn for a long period of time. They've got all of those in the Star Buzz, Social Smoke, and Fumari, which is the high-end premium tobacco, great exotic flavors. They've got all kinds of options at the Vape and Smoke Shop. The types of hookahs that they've got there, all kinds. Hookah, by the way, means water pipes, and it goes back to the 16th century. And, folks, size does matter. So the more distance the smoke has to travel, the cooler the smoke will be when it hits the throat and lungs. Water and sometimes ice in the vase can help cool and chill the smoke. So all of these things and all of these items are at the Vape and Smoke Shop in West Pines. And, of course, the staff is second to none. Go to the website and check it out, vsswestpines.com. All right, let's get into a little bit of Zach Thomas. Zach Thomas is now one of the finalists for the Hall of Fame. And I got to tell you something, man. I'm really happy for Zach that he's one of the finalists. I fear that Zach is one of those guys that is going to be on the outside looking in because, look, Sam Mills has been on there for a long time, 18 years. Leroy Butler has been on there 14 years. Steve Atwater's been on there several years, and Tony Boselli and Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt and some of these guys that haven't gotten in to the Hall of Fame. And, you know, they've pared this down. I think it started like at 122, and it went down to 25. They got it down to 15, which is now Steve Atwater, Tony Boselli, Isaac Bruce, Leroy Butler, Alan Faneca, Torrey Holt, Steve Hutchinson, Edge, John Lynch, Sam Mills, Troy Polamalu, Richard Seymour, Zach Thomas, Reggie Wayne, and Bryant Young. Okay? Now, Zach is a 7-time Pro Bowler. He's an AFC Defensive Rookie of the Year back in '96, a 5-time first-team All-Pro pick. Look, in my eyes, I saw enough of Zach. I covered his entire career. The guy he personifies class. He personifies leadership. He's a winner. To me, he is the epitome of what a Hall of Famer is all about. And the problem is that when you first see Zach, you just think size and the physical issues that he had to overcome to play the game, because he wasn't the biggest dude. He wasn't the most athletic guy. He wasn't the fastest guy out there. None of those traits, those physical traits that you talk about, none of them were elite, right? And so since they weren't elite, you have a tendency of not looking at them as elite. And it's not fair, because here's a guy that understood the game like most guys did not. Here's a guy that taught the game to others. Okay, I used to work with Channing Crowder, and Channing will, heap the praises of Zach over and over and over again, and how much he taught him as a player, and that is leadership. You know, sharing the knowledge and passing it on and making the people around you better. That's leadership. And look, I can talk about the interceptions, and I can talk about the 4 billion tackles and the game-winning plays that he made. That to me is automatic. All you got to do is roll the tape and watch the man play on every down. And at that size, to be as physical as he was, to be involved in as many things as he was on a consistent basis, that tells you all you need to know about Zach Thomas. To me, Zach Thomas is a Hall of Famer. If you don't want to put him in first ballot, okay, I can understand that. All right, I'm good with that. I get it. Ray Lewis is a first ballot, right? I get it. There are some of those freak linebackers that if you got to put them in first ballot compared to Zach, fine. If Zach has got to wait a second or a third go around, I'm good with that. But what I'm not good with is that he is hung out to dry for the rest of his career, and he doesn't get in. And he doesn't get to get the honor that he deserves. And why I say it's something that he deserves, because as a Dolphin fan, my biggest regret as a Dolphin fan is watching Jason Taylor and Zach Thomas and Pat Surtain and Sam Madison leave without a Dolphin championship. And I know Sam was able to win one with the Giants. I'm happy for him in that sense. But that doesn't do anything for me. It does something for Sam, and I'm happy for him. But for me, I wanted to see Tim Bowens, win a Super Bowl, because he was that kind of player, and he deserved it. Unfortunately, the other side of the football was never solved. And so Tim never had the complement on offense to his defense. And neither did Jason Taylor or Zach Thomas or Sam Madison or Pat Surtain. And out of that group, Sam was the only guy that got a Super Bowl ring. But they're all Super Bowl champions in my eyes. They're all Hall of Fame caliber players in my eyes. And Tim Bowens will never see the light of day in Ken unless he buys a ticket. I don't know if Sam and Pat will eventually get there, but all those guys in my eyes, they gave us Hall of Fame efforts week in and week out. They were pressured to limit teams to, 12, 14, 16 points because they knew their offense, for them to muster 20 was a mission. And that kind of effort week in and week out. Man, I remember a Buffalo game where I'm standing on the sidelines and Zach comes off the sidelines and he calls the trainer over to kind of work on his neck. And he was like, you could tell he was in serious discomfort. And the trainer's working on his neck or whatever. And he's kind of twisted, too. It's not like he's even straight while he's standing there waiting. And he's asking the trainer to work on his neck while he's standing there waiting to get back in. Not that he was going to go to the bench or go to some tent like they have now. Or no. Do what you can right now while I have a break that I got to get back on the field. And I'm watching this guy, and I'm literally like 8 feet away from him. And I'm hearing him grunt and growl because he's in pain. And the second the offense was done, or the special teams had finished kicking, and the defense, dude, he is just darting out there on the field. And in on that next tackle, which was a running play, where he had to stick his head and his neck in there to make that tackle. And I'm like, this guy was like standing next to me, writhing in pain. And the next down, he's sticking that same neck and shoulder into a running back to tackle him. I'm like, this is just nuts. It's just one of those things that you and I could never do because of the mental and physical toughness that it takes to play that game. That I'm sure whatever pain he was going through, you and I couldn't even go to work, couldn't get in the car to drive. We'd be calling in sick. And here's the dude going right back in to the game, all twisted and making a tackle. And I'm sure he had 100 of those moments in his career. Moments that you don't see because you're in the stands or you're in your living room. So you're not right next to him on the sidelines, listening and hearing the exchange. To me, Zach Thomas is a no-brainer Hall of Famer. I don't know where you want to put him in the Hall of Fame, like I said. I don't care if he's first. I don't care if he's second or fourth ballot, but get his ass in there. Because that guy is the epitome of what you would want a leader and a winner to be. And the Dolphins, they didn't win a championship, but it wasn't because of Zach or Jason or Sam or Pat or Tim Bowens. Those guys left every piece of their hearts out on that field. Zach Thomas was on the NFL Network, and he was talking about the honor of making it to the nominee for a Hall of Fame.
Oh, man, I'm just honored and humbled. And as you know, you're speaking about Jimmy Johnson. You're only as good as your GM. And he was our GM and at the time, and he brought a lot of great talent around me. I mean, you got guys like Jason Taylor, his first ballot, Tim Bowens, Trace Armstrong, Sam and Pat on the corners. I mean, he brought so much. Jimmy retired too early. And so, it definitely helped a lot. But it's a huge honor, and especially to be with all these greats, and you're naming Troy and Adrian before me. Man, it's unbelievable.
There you go. That is Zach talking about the honor, and Zach also on the NFL Network. Let's hear a little bit more as he elaborates about his teammates.
Well, out of college, Junior Seau, I got an autographed poster of Junior coming out of college, and watching him play, you could just tell he loved the game. And I got to be his teammate for a few years, and I saw it firsthand. And he had one speed, and he had a lot of energy, but it's like he had the theme music following him around everywhere he went. And all three of you knew Junior, and the love that he had and he played with was awesome. And so for me to even get the 2 years to be able to play with him was very inspiring.
There you go. Zach Thomas. And listen, this is a guy that, for me, I hope he gets the opportunity to go to Ken. I don't believe he'll get it in this go-around in his first time at it, but at least he's now going to get his case heard, and people will discuss it in that Hall of Fame room. And I think that'll be important because, remember, as time goes by, the memory starts to fade, and people don't remember what you did and what you accomplished. And as the years go on, the writers and the people that covered you also retire, and those are your witnesses. And then younger writers take over, and younger people take over, and TV, and whoever gets that vote. And then all of a sudden now, they don't have the same perspective, and they don't have the same appreciation. And then you're just stats to them. And it's not, again, I say this all the time, stats don't tell the whole story. That's why when you talk about Zach Thomas, his stats are worthy of Hall of Fame. But everything else about him was first ballot Hall of Fame. And that's where, to me, this is a guy that, and he deserves to be there. Let's hear from Zach one more time here on the NFL Network.
You know what? I was thrown in from the first game by Jimmy, and I appreciate his confidence in me. But you get a lot of confidence when you play behind some big linemen, like I mentioned, like Tim Bowens. I mean, Mike, you might have made a few plays, maybe not tackles for losses, but you might have made a few plays being behind that defensive line. And so, like I said, this is an individual award, and you're only as good as what's around you, the talent. And I had a lot of talent, so that was fun. And so, as a leader, I try to lead by example, and my preparation was good. If I'm going to brag on myself, my pre-snap was, I'm the quarterback of the defense, and the best players on the offense, their pre-snap are great, like Tom Brady, Peyton Manning. Well, I feel like I was the best pre-snap, before the play. And so that's what helped me win on that play. I was winning before the ball's even snapped by my alignment and my assignment, because you beat yourself most of the time.
And when Zach talks about that, there's a great story. He's, I think he's a second-year player at that point or something. And I think back then it was VHS. And they would use their VHS tape, and Zach would burn out his VHS tape. And he would be, watching tape all night and all that. And I think Izzo had to borrow the tape player and took it with him to his room or something like that. I forgot how the story goes, but then Izzo's telling the story that it was gross to work Zach Thomas's VHS tape player. Why? Because the play, rewind, and forward were all orange, because Zach would be eating Cheetos while he was, going over the film. And so your fingers were orange, so he kept pressing, the buttons on the VHS, and the buttons on the VHS were like permanently stained orange because he was watching so much tape that those buttons were worn out with orange all over them. They were smudged.
This could be one of the Super Bowl commercials for Cheetos. You know how they've had the boof and the wiping it on your leg and everything? That's perfect.
Yeah. So Izzo was describing how disgusting, what's it called? Thomas's VHS player was, but it also tells you the work ethic of the man. You know what I mean? That it was so bad and so worn out, the buttons and everything, and the orange was like burnt into the damn things because of him pressing it all over and over and over and over again, wearing it out. So it shows you that he was a guy that studied the game, because he knew he wasn't the biggest guy. He wasn't the fastest guy. He wasn't the most athletic guy. So in order for him to make up for it against these behemoths and against these other really talented and fast players, he had to be the smartest guy out there. And Zach would be the first guy to tell you, hey, I'm no rocket scientist, but I know football, right? And he was right. He's a guy that, hey, he wasn't going to start talking to you about, some kind of trig question or something and get into economics or something with you. But when it came to dissecting a football game, nobody was going to know it better. And he knew, like he was talking about pre-snap, he knew what the opponent was going to do. Way ahead. And that's the great ones. When they look at the alignment, they already know what play is going to happen. The quarterbacks, they look at your pre-snap, and they look at your defense, and they already know when they plant that foot after that third or fifth or seven-step drop, they know exactly where they're going with the ball because they already know exactly what you're doing. And that's what Zach Thomas was. And that's Hall of Fame, too.
I remember you telling me he was always the first to show up and the last one to leave.
Yeah. I mean, tireless worker.
Literally a tackling machine. He led the league. I don't know how many years it was, but he had a run.
A ton.
The guy, I mean, 140 to 160, 100. That was
ridiculous.
That was standard. That was regular.
Ridiculous. Got to give him so much props. I hope he does make it into the Hall of Fame.
You know what's tough, man? You look at that group of 15. Every one of those guys deserves to go. And people like Atwater, and Isaac Bruce that have been there for a while, it's tough, man. It is tough.
Yeah. John says, hey, Big O, buenos dias. I really appreciate what you do for us talking sports. I didn't even don't listen to QAM anymore. Well, why would you? There's like 80% commercials, dude. Please give me a break. Plus, you can't do sports talk without balls. You know what I'm saying? So when the management neuters you, it's not, not that they were neutering me, but they do neuter everybody else. Big O, when is the East-West Senior Bowl games going to be? Sir, it is not this Saturday, not next Saturday, but the Saturday after that will be the East-West, and then the Saturday after that will be the Senior Bowl. Okay? Next Sunday, we will be taking off to St. Pete. Not this Sunday, next Sunday. We will take off to St. Pete, and we'll be there for the week. Okay?
Could we take like a minute and a half? Because we're at 38 minutes.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, because listen, everybody, this is something I figured out yesterday, and O's all about it.
It's all right. Don't worry. It's all good. Let's take a quick break. The show is brought to you by Caneswear at Miami Fanwear, folks. That's the spot where fans like me shop. Go see Brett and all the great people at Caneswear, 2511 South University Drive in Davie, baby. Yes, sir. And they've got the Adidas line. They've got all kinds of stuff there for men, women, kids, and the babies, too. Let's start them off early. And to start off the new year, they've got some great deals going on. So go to 2511 South University Drive in Davie. Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, Marlins, Heat, Inter Miami. They got it all at Caneswear.
I think he's a young man.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Thinking about buying or refinancing a home? Act now. Home values are ticking up. Don't put off making a move any longer. Call Michael Kodsey now at Choice Mortgage Bank, 561-441-2730, while mortgage interest rates are still at historical lows. Call now to get pre-approved and buy your dream home. If you're currently paying over $800 a month for rent, call 561-441-2730 now before interest rates go up. Down payments as low as 3.5%. Veterans may qualify qualify for no money down. If you own a home, but you're upside down, Michael Kodzie can help. If you're being denied by your bank or your loan process is taking too long, call 561-441-2730. Act now while fixed rates are still under 3.5%. Offices in Boca and Boynton Beach. Rates and terms subject to change daily without notice. Equal housing lender. NMLS 122081.
Welcome back. We take it till 11 here on the program. At 10 o'clock, Jim Nagy, the executive director of the Reese's Senior Bowl, is going to join us at the top of the hour. And then at 10:30, Andre Fernandez is going to join us. We'll talk a little Heat basketball with him. Let me see what we got here on the chat board. And by the way, folks, for those of you that are watching, give us a thumbs up on the broadcast as much as you can every day when you're watching and all that. Get the trend going, get people liking it, and that ends up helping us get more subscribers, which we're moving up and getting closer to 1,000 every single day. So appreciate that immensely. Thank you for your, just incredible support, man. Thank you so much. Premier Reviewer says, great story about Zach. Thank you, sir. He is easy to tell great stories about. Let's see. Go Gator says, Orange Bowl champs. Troy Polamalu should be first ballot. Troy Polamalu, I got no problem getting him into the Hall of Fame. Let's see. This thing about the Hall of Fame is that someone has to be left out. Tough to see those deserving being on the outside looking in. Eamon says, good morning, Big O. I agree, Zach Thomas for Hall of Fame, but why is Richmond Webb not in yet? I don't know, man. Maybe... I don't know. Maybe it's because they weren't much of a running line. I don't know. I have no idea. I can't answer that one. Zach T definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Nico says, I hate evaluating football players by Super Bowl rings. It's the sport that requires the most amount of players to win one. Amen to that. Amen to that, man. Hopefully they will eventually get in and get Zach the honor that he deserves. I'd love to see him there, man, in a big-time way. All right, 786-322-1105. If you want to get in on the accidentlawfirm.com text line, 786-322-1105. If you want to get in on the program, the other way to reach out to us is on Twitter, and that is at Big O Show. Follow us there, as always, on at Big O Show. Let's see. Last night, Heat got it done against the Raptors, 84-76. Andre Fernandez will join us in hour number 2 to talk a little bit about that and talk about that victory. Panthers over Ottawa. Hell of a second period with those 4 goals. That was an explosion, dude. That was fun. That was good. That was good. Hey, it's a team you're supposed to be, but at least you went out there and you got it done. Dadonov with 2 goals. Yandel and Strawman each had 2 assists yesterday. So really nice job by the Panthers. Now, one of the things that I want to talk about, Redskins. The Redskins name Ron Rivera the head coach. First of all, did you guys catch Dan Snyder? While introducing Ron Rivera, he told everybody Happy Thanksgiving. Yeah. Not Christmas or Kwanzaa or Hanukkah, which, at least that just happened. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so you come to the podium, you get a little confused, and you say, hey, Merry Christmas to everybody. All right, people say, well, he's a little late. Okay. Now, if you say Happy New Year, you're a couple days after. I don't know what is the deadline for saying Happy New Year. Can you say Happy New Year on the 3rd? Are you allowed to say that to people?
If it's the first time you're engaging with that person for the year, yes. And
Even
it's
if
probably
it's January 15th?
It's well, that was the thing I was going to say. If you're into the second week, the 7th, 8th day,
Done.
that's too far.
Okay.
But within the first week, if it's the first time seeing the person, holidays, Happy New Year.
This is baseball crap. This is unwritten rules.
It's just what would be like normal. A normal person would do. Okay.
All right. So my man said Happy Thanksgiving, introducing Ron Rivera. I thought that was awesome. My man is 2 months behind. Well, not 2 complete months, but I mean, we are in January. That's a November holiday. I mean, why not just say Happy Halloween to everybody? What the hell? He's been scaring Redskins fans forever with his ownership. But anyway, so Ron Rivera gets introduced. All right? And look, I know Rivera personally. He's a good dude. I'm rooting for him. Now there's a little part of me that's going to be rooting for the Redskins. Just a little part of me because, unless they're playing the Dolphins, obviously, then I want them to lose by 1,000. But I like Ron personally. I know him. He's a good man. He's a good coach. I wish he would have gotten the Giants job. Something is up with him and Gettleman. I don't know what it is. I talked about this over the weekend on the Sirius show that I didn't – well, actually, it's Friday. I think I talked about it earlier this week on the Sirius show. I've done so much radio in the last 10 days that I'm just like my head is spinning. Like it's kind of nice that it's slowed down this week. And I'm also glad that this Friday I'm not doing 3 radio shows. I'm only doing 2 on Fridays now.
Only 2.
Only 2.
So all the segments, hours are bled together.
Yeah.
You can't decipher between that day, this, that, Sirius, us.
Yeah, I can't.
Nice.
I can't, but that's how it goes. But I know that I did talk about it, that the Gettleman thing, and now I hear them bringing it up, but it's so weird that those two, obviously, they must have, Rivera must have not liked something. And I picked up something from, because remember, they fired Bruce Allen. And one of the things, let's play Ron Rivera. Let's play his cut, talking about how, instilling the culture, and it's going to be a coaching culture that he talked about, how Snyder approached him. Go ahead, let's hear from Ron.
Culture really is how people see things. And I think the one thing that we got them to understand is we got to get them to see this organization as a winning organization. One of the things that's going to be real important is these guys understand what my vision is, okay? What the collective vision will be as an organization going forward, what those goals are within that vision, what the plan is going forward, and then the process to execute that plan is going to be. And then everybody has to buy into it. And if they're not going to buy into it, and I do mean this, will be time to replace people.
Now, let's play the follow-up one about him instilling the culture in the franchise.
A lot of history behind this football team. And in order for us to get back to where we want to be, we've got to study that history, embrace that history, and prepare to repeat that history. Because if we're not, we're doomed to repeat the most recent history. We're not going to do that, guys. We really aren't. Everything we do is going to be about winning. Okay, we're going to learn to do things the right way, and that's the only way we're going to do them. Because if it doesn't help us, we're not doing it, man. That's just as simple as it gets.
One more from Mr. Ron Rivera.
Culture really is how people see things. I think he's a young man that has potential in terms of his athletic ability, his smarts, his intelligence as a football player. We saw some quality growth until he was injured in the second to last game of the year. One of the games I like to point to in terms of I saw good growth was the Detroit game in his last 2 drives when he took him down, put him in position to score. I thought that was an excellent job, and it showed that he started to get a grasp in the field of how to do things.
All right, so I screwed up on that one. We didn't have to play that one. That was my bad call. But he goes on in that press conference to talk about how Snyder approached him and said, hey, look, this is going to be a coaching culture is what you're going to be able to establish. And in a way, Ron was kind of saying that Snyder is giving him full control. And I think that's why they blew out Bruce Allen. And I think this is why Ron Rivera kind of wanted this job over the Giants job, because he's going to control the general manager. He's going to control everything that goes on in that organization. And I can guarantee you this. If they allow him to control it, the one thing he said in that statement, that we're going to do things the right way, oh, man, you can bet your life on that. Okay, now, if Dan Snyder gets in the way and starts to meddle, then all hell breaks loose. But Ron Rivera, I'm sure, said, hey, either I do it my way or I don't do it at all. And I think that's what I think Snyder had to come to Jesus finally. And kind of I think he's done, not that Stephen Ross was meddling, but Stephen Ross was involved. Let's put it that way, okay? Like he got wooed by Sue. And you know what? He shouldn't be getting wooed by Sue. It's the way it is. He's the guy that was all gung-ho about finding Joe Philbin and then Adam Gase. He doesn't know squat about football. He shouldn't be finding any coach. Let a football guy, since he's not a football guy, let the football guy in Chris Grier go find the coach. And so far, looks like he found a way better coach than the last two that Stephen Ross has been so gung-ho about. Okay? So if they're going to give Ron Rivera all of this control, then it makes all the sense in the world why he took this job. And if Snyder's going to take a back seat, finally, then Washington will have a chance, finally, to be a respectable team. Okay? But that's, again, it's up to Snyder now. And if he wants to ruin it with Rivera, then he goes back to his meddling ways because he is the owner. But there's no doubt in my mind that this deal happened because Snyder is giving this man all control. And he is going to control his own general manager, which is going to be definitely a key for Ron to succeed. Whether he does or not, that's a whole different ballgame. I will say this. They got some talent on defense. They're going to be a better defense next year now that Ron's there. I mean, you're talking about a quality human being, bro. I'm just telling you, like Ron Rivera is just a man. That's a guy that's why players love him. Because they know that he's one of them because he was a player, was a hell of a player with those Bears teams and that team that almost went undefeated if it wasn't for the Dolphins. And he was, a solid, like a really good football player for a long time. Smart guy, tough guy, and he's been a really good coach overall. I mean, when you hear what's this guy's name? The cornerback for Washington now, who's got a big mouth, came from Carolina. Now I'm forgetting his name, but when you hear him praise Ron Rivera, and that guy is hard to reach. But when that guy can be reached by Ron Rivera, that tells you all you need to know about who Rivera is. And I'm brain farting now. But you know what I'm talking about. I didn't want to cheat and look it up and then see who the hell it is that I'm talking about now. But I'm going to have to do it. One of you out there, look, Josh Norman. Thank you, David, on the chat board. Appreciate it. There you go. When Josh Norman is bragging about you, there you go. That's all you need to know. So for me, the Rivera hire is a home run. If I'm a Redskins fan, I am super, super happy about it. You know what I'm saying? But again, as long as the owner stays out of the way, you got a shot. Once the owner starts to meddle, you're done. So we'll find out. He kept Bruce Allen around his buddy for 10 years, and they sucked. And they brought in different coaches that weren't able to get it done. And he hasn't been able to get it done for 20-plus years as the owner. He has lost fans because I don't know if you guys know this, but the Redskins keep tarping off the second level. I mean, you could buy tickets to a Washington game anytime you want, super cheap. Whereas 20 years ago, you had to wait 400 years to get a ticket. You had to wait for 2 generations to die to get a ticket to a Redskins game. Those days are done. That's how bad. That's how much that guy's ruined that fan base. That was one of the great fan bases of all time. But like I tell you guys all the time, because people talk about Miami, right? And they say, oh, we're bad fans. No. We're great fans here in Miami. We're just really smart. We're not going to pack a stadium for losers. Okay? So if you're going to be a loser owner and you're not going to do your part, hey, man, we'll go to the beach and we'll go to South Beach and we'll go to Las Olas and we'll go to the Keys. We'll go to the swamp. Okay? We'll go check out gators in the swamp before we're going to go see your sorry-ass team. And even in Washington, where they were diehard of diehards, they said, no, man, you're not trying to win. You suck. I'm out of here. And by the way, that's how it should be. Those Cubs fans, before this group now that owns it, when the Tribune Company was owning them, and they sucked every year, and the bleacher bums were all there and packed, those were dumb fans. Those were terrible consumers. Those are idiots that go back to a restaurant when the soup is cold or they got a hair inside of it. Okay? Those days of blindly buying tickets for your team, no matter what, get the hell out of here, dude. You want my business? Earn it.
You know what, man? We got to get ready for Jim Nagy, but you had to mention Gators. Now I want Gator Bites.
Yes.
Thank you.
The Pit.
I appreciate that.
I would go get them and take them to Hialeah for us, but they won't.
No.
They won't be fresh.
Well, no, they'd be fresh enough. You could do it in 20 minutes, man. You got skills like that. You got that
From the
rocket.
Pit to Hialeah.
That new rocket.
From the Pit to Hialeah, I don't know, man. I don't think your mine will be delicious because I'm eating them on the way.
You know
but
what?
Yours will
as
not.
good as those things are, they would be good. Those things.
I'll
are
do
amazing.
it if you want.
That's up to you. That's your call, sir.
No, I'll do
That's
it, but you're gonna want those.
You're the one that planted this seed, brother. You had to mention a gator. But no, seriously, we got 2 minutes.
Bill's a big fan of the Gator Bites at the Pit
man.
Barbecue on 8th Street in like 100
Those things are fire.
50, 60, whatever, 60-something or whatever it is.
We got Jim Nagy
Is
coming.
that the best Gator Bites in town at the Pit Barbecue?
Hands down.
On 8th Street? Because I don't know if anybody makes better Gator Bites in town. Okay? Winchell's makes some good ones. You're going to try them, but you'll see. They're a little saltier. And that's the only thing that I don't like about them over the ones at the Pit.
We haven't tried the walk-on place that, all the Canes football players walk on.
That's
bowl.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
That may be a place that could be interesting.
Those of you watching the broadcast, make sure you give us a thumbs up so it starts to trend more. You know what I'm saying? So help out the broadcast. Hit the thumbs up button while you're watching the broadcast so we could get it trending more and get more people watching, more subscribers, spread the word. We need to get to 1,000, so make sure you do that. All right, we got 1 hour down. We got one more to go. On the other side, we're going to talk a little NFL draft. Jim Nagy, the executive director of the Reese's Senior Bowl, joins us next.
I think he's a young man that
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big
No one expects to get into a crash, but I expect you to go to accidentlawfirm.com if you do. Make sure when hiring a driver you go through a rideshare app so that you can be covered by the insurance, which can be up to $1 million whether you're a passenger or a driver. In other words, don't try to save a few bucks by paying cash instead of going through the app. I'm attorney Bobby Nunez from Nunez Law in Miami, and we're here to help you through the process. Go to accidentlawfirm.com for a free consultation from me, Bobby Nunez. That's accidentlawfirm.com.
America's safest and best-selling compact luxury SUV is at Acura of Pembroke Pines, and this is how we do it. RDX, $339 a month at Acura of Pembroke Pines, the #1 volume Acura dealer.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
All righty.
This is the Big O Show.
Yes, it is. It is time to talk a little NFL draft, and we love talking NFL draft with my man Jim Nagy, the executive director of the Reese's Senior Bowl. That's where we're going to be, by the way, in a couple of weeks. Can't wait to head out to the Reese's Senior Bowl, my favorite week of the year. And you can follow my man Jim, like I and so many others, with Jim Nagy _SB. Jim, good morning, my friend. How are you doing? Do we have him there? Jim? Let's see. Hold on. Jim, can you hear me? Wait a minute, Jim. We're trying to just say hi over and over again, Jim, and eventually we'll hear you on the air. As Bill's trying to pull it up here. Let's see. I love live radio. It's always fun trying to figure things out. All right. Do we have it now? Jim?
You got me?
We got you, baby. Victory is
all
ours.
Right.
It's a beautiful
all
thing.
Right.
I love it. All right, we're out here at Craig Zinn, Acura of Pembroke Pines, and Jim Nagy joining us. Jim, so what do you think the press conference is going to be about Tua? There's no way he's going to hold a press conference to tell us that he's actually going back, right? It's got to be he's gone, correct?
I don't know. Oh, that's a really good question. Someone asked me that earlier this morning on a local show here, because that's obviously going to be the big news here in the state of Alabama. I guess nationwide as well, but even bigger here. But everything. I have not talked to anyone close to Tua, but I've talked to some people that are close to the program, and there is some feeling up there that he's probably coming back. So. I would. My mind was like you. I mean, why would you hold a press conference to say you're coming back? But things I'm hearing is that's a possibility.
Well, what do you think about? I know that he should go out and go get the money right away and all of that. But one of the things that I kept talking about during the week, remember we talked about this, Bill. I go, this dude might be wired just like Peyton Manning, where, we all freaked out back then too. When, I'm coming back for my senior year. I want the college life, this and that. And it's not so much about the college life in his case, but what I mean by is Peyton was a big picture guy. Maybe that's what Tua's thinking, big picture. Hey, look, you know what? Football can wait for me on the pro side. Let me get healthy here in Alabama and then, raise my stock up and raise the confidence of people around me. Maybe that's what he's thinking. I don't know. You tell me.
Well, I'll say this, though. Whenever stuff like this happens, I always try to, I try to think of it through the eyes of a general manager. And, if you've got to go to your owner and tell him you're ready to invest a first-round pick, especially a high first-round pick, and spend, 15 to $30 million of his money on a guy that you don't know is ever going to be the same player again. That's a difficult conversation to have. So if he did come back, he would at least be, erasing some of that doubt about how that hip's going to be, because that's, obviously, the medical stuff, leave that to the doctors. But, I have had enough experience with players that have a similar type of injury, and it can be a recurring issue as well. So if he does come back, he's making those GM jobs a lot easier, and they're not going to have to roll the dice per se.
Yeah, although it's making Miami's job a little harder, because at 5, a lot of Dolph fans were thinking, all right, you can still take Tua at 5, and they all thought they were going to get the number 1 pick and they would take Tua, and then you're at 5 and he ends up falling to you there. What do you think, Jim, if he does stay in the if he goes to the draft with that injury, how far does he fall? What do you hear?
Well, that's the good question. I mean, I think that I think with the Dolphins having the 3 picks, it's similar. I equate it a little bit to what the Giants had last year. Drafting at 6 and 17, and they got scrutinized a little bit, criticized for taking Daniel Jones at 6 rather than 17. Well, my thing is if you're taking a quarterback in the first round and you're the GM and the head coach, you're pinning your career on that guy, because first round is first round. That's all people want to hear. They're going to see first round quarterbacks. So I don't care if you pick them at 4 or 5 or at 24 or 25. The fan base and the ownership and everyone is going to see that as a first round pick. So to me, if you're the Dolphins, if you like Tua before the injury and you're willing to take him with one of those 3 picks, it might as well be the 5th pick, just to ensure that you get him. But to me, that's going to be the issue. I don't think he would fall all the way to the end of the first round. I think someone would roll those dice, because Tua has played at such a high level, on such a good program, and he's put it out there. He's got a nice track record. So, but it all stems on the injury. But I think someone's gonna do it. I really do.
So, Jim, how much did you trip out on Trevor Lawrence getting the wake-up call by the Malachi Crunch that he got? Because I mean, that let me tell you, his legend just exploded even more after. All I can think about at that moment, I was thinking of Paulie in the corner with Apollo, and Rocky's getting hit, and then he's going, oh, he's getting killed out there, and Paulie goes, no, he's getting mad, and that's exactly what happened with Trevor Lawrence. Oh no, he got knocked out. No, he got mad and got even. That was impressive.
No, that was really impressive performance by Trevor. It's amazing that kid has yet to lose a college football game. Truly amazing. But I think when you look at that performance and what Justin Herbert from Oregon did in the Rose Bowl with, I want to say he had 3 rushing touchdowns as well. It shows the evolution of that position. I mean, not only are Trevor and Justin both really big kids, but they're both really good athletes. We had Josh Allen from Wyoming, Buffalo Bills starting quarterback in the Senior Bowl a couple of years ago. And he was similar. He's a big 6'5" guy that can run around and make plays with his legs. And again, neither of those guys threw the ball great in their games, but they led their teams to wins greatly with their legs, which is incredible for such big guys. So this position is the quarterback position is really evolving, and what's cool is that the NFL is evolving with it. You look what Buffalo's done with Josh Allen and how they've kind of adapted his skill set. It's cool to see. It's cool to see that the league is seeing a certain skill set, and they're not trying to fit the player into a scheme. They're putting scheme around players. So I think that's where Justin Herbert's going to benefit. I think that whoever takes Justin Herbert, he's a little bit of a work in progress as a passer. He's a little up and down, but he's got all the tools. I can't wait to get him to Mobile. He's got an absolute hose for an arm. He's very much like Josh Allen that way. He can really throw it. But right now, while he's developing, he's got those legs to bail him out.
Well, what a concept, adjust to your talent. I mean, I grew up with Shula.
Yeah.
I mean, give me a break. It's like Greasy with the 3 running backs. Then we went with Woodstock, where he had Don Strock and David Woodley running. And then he went pass happy with Marino. That's why Shula was Shula, because Shula
Right.
didn't have one system. He's like, okay, this is my team. Okay, now I've got to design the things around my team, and that's what. And you're so right, Jim. We probably went through a stage in the NFL where we were kind of dead set on the NFL ways, but nowadays it's so much fun to watch the way the college game has influenced the NFL and the way NFL coaches have taken into that influence and added it to their repertoire. And I think that has also made the game that much better.
It definitely has. And I think what happened in the 80s, like you talked about what Coach Shula did, transition from Woodstock to Marino, I think what happened was Bill Walsh was so innovative, and we lost Sam Weiss yesterday.
Yep.
Great innovative coach as well. But I think Coach Walsh in the West Coast system, that got so popular, and you look at all the different machinations of the West Coast offense that grew off that Bill Walsh tree, whether it's to Mike Holmgren and then off the Holmgren tree. I think people for a couple of decades there were really just stuck on scheme. And really trying to fit guys into, a certain system where now it's just I think after all these years, people are wising up to doing what Coach Shula did and just play to your strengths. So, it's a little bit like Dak Prescott. People are asking me a lot right now about Jalen Hurts and how he transitions. I think that what Dak's done in Dallas have kind of built around his strengths. You look at what they're doing in Baltimore around Lamar Jackson. They're all in with him, going 3 tight ends and running a lot of option games. So I think that's where Jalen Hurts has a chance. I talking to some people this week about Jalen, and again, if you try to plug him in some conventional pro style offense, it might not be great right away. But if you play to his strengths, I think Jalen could get on the field and do well.
Yeah, and speaking of the late great Sam Weiss, and you talked about Bill Walsh, and I told this story the other day. The birth of the West Coast offense was when those two gentlemen were under Paul Brown in Cincinnati. They couldn't run the ball, so Paul Brown designed a short passing game to offset the running game, and Bob Trumpy was one of their tight ends, and so was Sam Weiss, and Walsh was was the offensive coordinator, and that was the birth of the West Coast offense. It was actually born in Cincinnati with Walsh and Sam Weiss under Paul Brown. And it was all born out of desperation, kind of like what, Tony Sperano did at 0-2 years ago, the late Sperano, where, David, I'm forgetting his last name now, the coach, came in and said, hey, why don't we run this Wildcat thing? And sometimes you got to do some things out of desperation, and all of a sudden it becomes genius. And that's what the West Coast offense ended up becoming. Out of desperation came genius, which is just absolutely amazing. Now, let me ask you something, Jim. Who is the quarterback that is going to shoot up the draft boards in this offseason? Because you and I know it's going to happen. It happens to a couple of players. But at that quarterback position, since we're so starved for it here in Miami, who's the guy that you think, what's the name that's going to get a lot of buzz in the offseason?
I think the guy that's positioned to be that guy to shoot up is Jordan Love from Utah State. I think that Joe Burrow's up there at the top. Justin Herbert's, going to be somewhere up there at the top. But I think Jordan Love right now, going into the fall, I think most teams had him, in the first round. I know that, and I did him over the summer. I thought he was a first-round pick. I thought he was the guy that you draft to be your rookie starter. And then they had a coaching change there at Utah State. I think that Jordan felt the expectations a little bit, a lot of that first-round talk. And, again, these are young guys now. Jordan was only a sophomore. So, I think he felt that a little bit. You could see it on the tape. He was pressing. He was trying to do too much. He never really looked comfortable in the offense. But when you just look at his tools, in terms of size, athleticism, arm strength, really a natural thrower of the football. He has all of it. I saw him over the summer at the Manning camp, and he really stood out. He was one of the guys that I saw the tape before the camp and loved the tape, and then saw him throw live and loved that too. So sometimes there's a little disconnect. The tape's better than what you see live, or vice versa. I really like both assets of Jordan. So Jordan's coming to the Senior Bowl. I think guys want to believe in this kid because they, what they saw his sophomore year. I really think he's got a chance to bounce back with a strong Senior Bowl. And again, our week lines up perfectly for the guy because he's got all the physical tools. I think they want to see him come down here, learn an offense quickly, and see how he can apply it, and then just see how he goes through the process of the interviews and handles that. But he definitely has NFL starter talent.
All right, I don't want to put you in a bad position here because I've watched him several times. I like him a lot too, and he wows you with certain throws, and then there are moments where you kind of scratch your head. But and again, I don't want to put you in a bad position, but this is my opinion. I think he doesn't play on a really good team, and that's really his issue this year, that the team around him, it's almost like he has to do a little too much, and sometimes he forces it. And so a lot of these mistakes sometimes is because he's trying to do a little too much. Agree or disagree on that?
I totally agree. And he still took his team to a bowl game.
Yep.
But, yeah, it's very – I brought up Josh Allen once already, but I can equate, Josh to Jordan Love here in this instance as Josh, his sophomore year, had some good NFL skill players around him. He had Jacob Hollister, who's the starting tight end for the Seahawks now. He had a running back that got drafted and lost those players before going into his junior year. So Josh's last year at Wyoming, he was pretty much out there all by himself trying to make plays, and he didn't have a great year. So he came down to Mobile in a similar spot where he'd really fallen out of the first round talk. He was more of a second round guy. And then had a great week down here and handled the process well. And, the rest is history. He went 7th overall. I don't know if Jordan will get all the way up, into the top 10, but a very similar situation. Yeah, I'm with you. Like I said, he just looked like he was trying to make too much happen himself and never really looked comfortable.
Yeah, I like him, man. I think he's one of those guys. And I've even talked about this, that if the Dolphins draft Tua, let's say at 5, okay, I say you go Jimmy Johnson and Shanahan style. Shanahan didn't buy into RG3. It was the owner's thing, so he drafted Cousins. Jimmy wasn't convinced with Troy Aikman because Gil Brandt told him, you got to draft him, and he did, to Jimmy's credit. And then once Jimmy was convinced Troy was all right, then he traded away Steve Walsh, who he selected in the supplemental draft. If I'm the Dolphins with 4,000 picks, if I take Tua at 5, I'm taking another guy, maybe a Jordan Love, maybe a Nate Stanley, maybe an Anthony Gordon like you're going to have at the Senior Bowl. I'm going to take another guy just to kind of cover myself. What do you think about that draft strategy?
Yeah, the only thing you got to worry about with that is just the dynamic in the room. You got to make sure that both guys can handle that, because again, there's only one ball and there's only one spot on that field. But no, I agree with you. If you're gonna, I don't have any problem with doubling down if it's the two right guys. Again, why not? I mean, I remember years ago, Ron Wolf in Green Bay had a draft where his first 3 picks were all corners. It was when Randy Moss was really at the top of his game with the Vikings early in his career, and they couldn't stop him. So Ron picked 3 corners right out of the gate. It's been done at other positions. I don't know why you couldn't do it at quarterback, but again, I really think it's gauging the personalities that are going to be in that room, because you really want. Ideally, you'd love a mentorship situation where you've got, if they kept Fitz around for another year, and let him work with a young guy. But I don't disagree. When you've got all those picks, if you want to double down to position, I actually think it'd be a smart thing.
I'm with you. Jim Nagy, of course, the executive director of the Reese's Senior Bowl, joining us. Hey, with Jordan, it's because he's a 4th-year junior, right? That's why he's there? That's why he can go to the Senior Bowl? Is that how the rule goes?
They just have to have their diplomas by December. Uh-huh. So, yeah, the league changed that about 4 or 5 years ago. We had 12 juniors in the game last year. It was really point of emphasis when I took the job was that we got to get as many of these juniors as possible, because that's really who the league wants to see in a lot of these games, is because they're a little bit behind when it comes to gathering all the information on these players. A lot of schools, most schools around the country have opened up talking about juniors over the last 5 years. I mean, it used to be completely taboo to go into a college and ask about their juniors. You'd get your head chewed off for doing something like that 10, 15 years ago. But it's gotten better, but still the teams feel a little behind. So we're going to try to bring as many juniors as we can, if they warrant it, if they're draftable players. We're not trying to bring guys that are undrafted free agents to our game just because they're juniors. But so yeah, as long as they have their diploma in hand in December, they're free to come.
You got all your quarterbacks set for the bowl?
We don't. You know, the one guy we're really waiting on is Joe Burrow, and a lot of people think we don't have a chance. And I'm a pretty optimistic guy by nature. I like to look at life glass half full, and whenever I can. And with Joe, so I've talked to Joe's dad a little bit. I met Joe over the summer a couple times. He's a great kid. He's had a magical year, and we had the Bengals reach out to the Burrows as well this week. There's some bonds there. Zach Taylor, the head coach of the Bengals, played at Nebraska. Joe's older brothers played at Nebraska. So there's some Cornhusker ties between Zach and the family. And they hopped on the phone on Monday and just talked about getting Joe here for the week. And if this is going to be a long-term marriage between the Burrows and the Cincinnati Bengals, well, why not start it this week? Their point is, we want you to feel comfortable with us just as much as, we want to feel comfortable with you. So let's spend the week together, go through practice, whether you really want to play in the game or not, we can talk about that. But, frankly, I don't care if Joe plays in the game or not. He's proven enough. If he just wants to come down here and spend the week in meetings and throw the football in practice and let the Bengals get comfortable with him, that's great for us because that'll bring people to Mobile. There'll be a lot of buzz around the game. Joe's like almost at folk hero level now with the season that he's had. So hopefully he considers, this is the first game we'll ever have where we're buttoned right up on the BCS National Championship game. The NCAA moved that thing back a week. So he'll be playing that game on Monday, and the players are reporting on the following Sunday. So he's really those LSU and Clemson guys are going to have about a 5-day window to get to Mobile. So I hope that doesn't, stand in the way of Joe coming to the game because we'd love to have him. If we get Joe here, that'll wrap up the QB spot.
Yeah, you know what you need? You need Carson Palmer to call him because Carson was a Bengal. Carson stayed for his senior year at USC, had no business going to the Senior Bowl, and still went to the Senior Bowl, came out that whole week, played and everything. He was into it in the practices and all that stuff. And because he's just a gym rat. He's a football junkie. And it was one of those things that was kind of odd to even see him at the Senior Bowl, but that's how much he loved it. That's a nice example for Joe right there.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And it's just ironic that it was the Bengals organization. Yeah. And I know I spoke to Jordan, Carson's brother Jordan, and Jordan might even be training Joe Burrow for the draft. Might be his quarterback coach for leading up to the draft. So, yeah, there's already some Palmer connections to Joe, and then Palmer connections to the Bengals, and yeah, it's kind of a weird web around all those guys.
Jim, I know that you guys, when you're doing your invites, right? There's always like maybe a one or two guy that might be a small school guy, under the radar guy. Give us a guy in the game that you love, that's under the radar, that's going to get buzz when the week builds up. So our listeners can know who that person is. Give me somebody.
Yeah, that's a good question. That's this game. That's one of the great things about this game is that it can be a real springboard for some of the small school players. And I know some
Brandon Williams was one of those guys for the Baltimore Ravens. You remember Brandon? You know how your predecessor found him. They sent him a tape, and he was doing a handstand, walking around in a handstand at 300 some odd pounds. And then the game tape was so it was terrible, quality. It was grainy and stuff, but he was dominating and throwing people around. So they brought him in, and the rest is history, and he came from a little school. So that happens every once in a while.
Yeah, it really happens every year. You look at a couple of years ago, Darius Leonard came here from South Carolina State, and last year was the defensive player, rookie of the year. So a guy that a lot of hardcore draft fans might already know about because I know on my Twitter feed since about last April or May, I've been pumping this kid a ton. But Kyle Duggar from Lenoir-Rhyne, it's a small Division II school in North Carolina. I actually went up there and hand-delivered his invite this year. We've never done anything like that. I did that with a couple small school players this year, which was really fun. Kyle's a great kid. But, back to him as a player, he's 6'2", he's 222 pounds. He ran 4.41 for the NFL scouts last spring. So he's got all the height, weight, speed. He's kind of a hybrid, strong safety will linebacker. And really, a lot of scouts have reached out this fall, and that they say, they don't want to cop out of what he's going to be, but the D2 tape is so hard to evaluate because he's such a man amongst boys at that level. They really need to see him down here this week against, SEC level competition, Big 10 players, Big 12, Power 5 guys to see how he stacks up, because he's that dominant at Division II. And really, from a scouting perspective, when you go into a small school, that's what it needs to look like. I mean, They really have to be dominant. If they don't pop off the tape, they're not going to play at the next level. Those guys got to be clearly dominant. Kyle was. He's a pick machine. He gets tons of interceptions. He's a great punt returner and kick returner, because guys don't want to tackle him. When he gets the ball in his hands, no one wants to tackle this guy. 222 pounds running 4.41 on a D2 football field. So we're excited to see Kyle this week. I know the league's excited to see him. I think he's a guy that right now is in the second or third round range. It'll be interesting to see how high he can even climb from there.
That's going to be good stuff there. Jim, as always, you are a stud. Thank you for taking some time, my brother. Look forward to heading over there to Mobile, man. We will see you in a couple of weeks. Yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely. Can't wait to get you and the guys, get you guys up to Mobile. Look forward to it.
You got it, baby. You be good, Jim. Thank you for taking the time. Have a great weekend, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Got it. There you go. The great Jim Nagy, the executive director of the Reese's Senior Bowl. We love it. All right, good stuff by Jim. So there you go. There's a little draft talk for you, and Jordan Love is that guy that, who knows? It maybe, I'm thinking, late first, early second round. He might climb in, lock himself into that first round, and Miami may have to take him at number 18.
Stop that clicking, buddy.
They may have to take him at 18, bro. They have to reach for him a little higher in order to get him. Let's see, what else do we have here? Mace, you're only saying that because of upside. Oh, okay, you guys are talking to each other here on this. Nice to see you again from Houston. Go Dolphins. That's Eduardo Gonzalez. Eduardo, thank you for tuning in. Ty from the Bronx says, Big O, ding, ding, ding. I guess he loves his Jordan Love. What else do we have here? Do they have a specific date when they declare who's going to play in the Senior Bowl? No, not really. But it's almost like they've got almost all their commits now. There's only maybe a couple of spots left over now. And you could tell that he's holding out a quarterback spot for Joe Burrow. Joe does not need to go. You know what I'm saying? It'll be interesting to see if he does get him to go. That would be pretty cool.
Is it acceptable maybe to, take the invitation, see the, first time exposed to the NFL people, just show up. You don't have to throw, kind of like,
Well, he just said, no.
Show up and say hi.
No. He said that he could, go do all the interviews, do the practices, and no play in the game. So, because there's usually...
You got the red jersey on. Nobody's going to hit you.
Usually there's four quarterbacks on each side. So you'll have, if he sits out, that'll be three quarterbacks that'll be throwing in the game. So you can break up the entire game into three. Sometimes you do four where they just give a quarter to each, is what they do sometimes.
Yeah, and actually practice would be acceptable because he's got the special jersey on and no contact.
Well, no,
risk.
they don't tackle you anyways in practice, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
So he doesn't have to.
That's what I'm saying.
They're not going to hit you anyways. They're not going to tackle.
Practice is protected.
Yeah. So you're safe anyways in practice overall.
No risk of
blowing
the moolah.
It'll be interesting to see if he actually goes for that, if he actually does it, because he really doesn't need it.
You know what you know what's another thing?
Just like Carson Palmer, when back in the day when we went to that Senior Bowl, we were all freaking out. Like, why is Carson Palmer here? He doesn't even need to be here. He's the number 1 overall pick. Like, everybody knew he was going to be the number 1 overall pick for the Bengals, and yet he showed up. If Burrow shows up, that'll be the second time that Cincinnati picks number 1 overall, and they're taking the quarterback. And a quarterback that did not need the Senior Bowl went to the Senior Bowl anyway for the week. Interesting.
You know what's another
If
factor?
that happens, just so you know, that's that nugget that Carson did the same thing. Well, actually, Joe will do the same thing Carson did. Let's put it that way.
Interesting thought. Because of having done the Heisman, all the award shows, this, that. He's been on kind of a juggernaut schedule. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Plus the national championship games. He may just want to take that week off.
Yeah.
You know, that's a
But
possibility.
again, he might be like Carson. He's a gym rat. And doing this is what he loves to do. You know what I'm saying? So I can see where that would make a lot of sense to him. Hey, let me tell you a little bit about Pallet Rack City. We love talking about Eddie Pereira. It's your one-stop shop for all of your warehouse needs, baby. Call him 305-887-9212. Listen, if your warehouse is looking like a disaster and you want to organize it, then you got to call Pallet Rack City. They, by the way, buy and sell new and used pallet racking. They've got the largest used racking inventory in South Florida. You want a great rack, you got to go to Pallet Rack City. They also sell used forklifts and dock equipment, and they specialize in knockdowns and installations of your warehouse equipment. So call them right now. Call Eddie Pereira. Tell him that Big O sent you. 305-887-9212. That's 305-887-9212 for Pallet Rack City. When we come back, Andre Fernandez is going to join us. We'll talk a little Heat basketball next.
This is the Big O Show. This is
Plus tax tech title. It includes $8.99 dealer fee on approved credit offers and 11/10/19.
Over 1,500 Toyotas are on the ground, and truckloads of new 2020 Toyotas just keep on coming. To eliminate all 2019 models, Toyota of Hollywood is holding the ultimate 2019 model year changeover event. Make us an offer, any offer, and you can buy a Toyota at up to 50% less than their original MSRP when new and used. 50% less. A pre-owned 2019 RAV4, not $30,000, $19,775. A pre-owned 2019 Camry LE, not $26,000, $17,775. A pre-owned 2019 Corolla LE, not $22,000, $12,775. Pay up to 50% less at Toyota of Hollywood, the #1 volume Toyota dealer, based on total retail sales of new Toyotas in the Southeast region for 2014 to 2018 per SET, on 441 between Hollywood Boulevard and Sheridan Street. Open till midnight.
This is the Big O Show. 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 This is the Big O Show.
All right, we're ready to rock. Coming to you live from beautiful Craig Zinn's, Acura of Pembroke Pines. Yes, sir, they are ready to make you a deal. We're out here every Friday, by the way. 9 to 11 in the morning. And we promised you that Andre Fernandez would be kind enough now to join us to talk a little Heat basketball after last night's 84-76 win. Andre, how you doing, my friend?
What's up, Big O? How you doing, man?
Very good. Hey, I just want you to know, I know we live in South Florida, but yesterday, out of nowhere, I now have a chimney in my house. Thanks to all the all the Raptors shooters last night. They laid so many bricks. They built a chimney in my house. It was freaking awesome.
I should have seen that one coming. I knew you had something up your sleeve after last night's ugly game.
Hey man, I got a chimney out of it, bro. Not that I'll ever use that fireplace, but man, you know, if I ever want to, you know, if it ever does get cold, if it ever goes like that movie Day After Tomorrow where everything freezes, I'm set.
You're set. You're set. You're hunkered in. You can survive that. You can survive the zombie apocalypse. Whichever one comes first, you're fine.
I'm good with that, man. Fred VanVleet must be like having nightmares right now. He keeps shooting, keeps missing, keeps shooting, keep missing. I was a little surprised that they at one point or another said, well, let's just drive to the hoop. Maybe we'll draw a foul, you know, maybe we'll start. Because I know that when it's my team and they're struggling like that, I kind of want them to adjust to that and say, okay, can you face it? You kind of suck tonight. All right, start driving to the hoop a little bit, right?
Yeah, it surprised me they didn't try that a little bit more. I mean, granted, the Raptors are missing a few guys, as we know, but still, I mean, you gotta try something. You have to break out of that zone, especially when, you know, consistently for quarter after quarter, you're getting absolutely nothing. I mean, it was just horrendous. I mean, it turned into one of those. It turned into not just like a retro. You couldn't even really call it a retro game because it wasn't even so much the brutal, grueling defense. It was just horrible shooting, and you know, it did really surprise me, short staffed or not, that they didn't adjust to it a little bit better.
Yeah, no, I saw it and I said, man, this is really, really wacky that you would do it that way. But I mean, it is what it is. And by the way, you can follow Andre on Twitter at Fernandez Andre C. Catch his work there at The Athletic. But last night, man, Bam once again. I tell you that is. He's probably the most consistent player on the team, correct? Because Jimmy, I mean, I know they win when he sucks, and which is amazing, which is great, by the way, because Jimmy can have although he had a terrible offensive night, he really had a good night all around. He really helps you out in so many other areas. But it is amazing how when he plays poorly, they still win with no problem.
Yeah, I mean, that's the interesting part. I mean, starting with Bam, I can tell you he's definitely done a lot more than Taco Fall has this year. I can tell you that for sure. So, but no, in all seriousness, though, like, yeah, he's the story, one of the biggest stories for that team, you know, the way he's emerged and the way he just plays, you know, the way his contributions on the passing side, on spacing the floor, helping these shooters to find space, you know, when they're cutting to the basket, when they're on the perimeter. Kind of like all the little things that have impressed me even more than, you know, his offense, even more than what he's done on the defensive end. And then, I wrote about it today about Jimmy Butler, the way just he's been either barely shooting or when he does shoot, just not shooting well. And the team still manages to win. I mean, they're one of the only teams in the NBA that have been able to overcome when their top scorer or one of their top scorers, you know, shoots so low or makes so few shots in the game, but it's because of that. Very similar. You know, his assists are high. He's making up for it by consistently getting to the foul line, by creating, you know, cutting to the basket. You know, his defense obviously has always been one of his signature strengths, and it is again this season. I think he's ranked third in steals right now. So, you know, Spo, like everybody saw, Spo saluted him last night for all those little things that he does beyond scoring that's really helping the team. And you know, what I wonder is the sustainability of it, because eventually, you know that especially when you face these pack of teams that they're fighting in the East, you know, for the top spots, later on in the season, you're going to need a more accurate Jimmy Butler, even if it's not a super high percentage, but you want him hitting shots as well as doing some of these other things.
Yeah, no, but again, what I love about it, and you know how it is, Andre, you've been covering sports for a long time. Some of these cats, their offensive game goes away, and then it affects everything else that's going on. And Jimmy's been able to compartmentalize all of that. And, okay, on the nights that he's not scoring well, he's doing everything else at a high level. The question is, this is the only thing that I got to ask, and I don't know if you've done any studies on this. Is this normal for him that he goes through so many stretches of not shooting well? Because he's done that a lot this year. So I'm just wondering, is this a norm for him? Do you know?
No, well, that's the thing. And I looked some of this up yesterday, and it's been, we've been talking about that for the last few games. It's not overall his worst shooting season, but it's one of his worst in a while. And when it comes to hitting shots 10 feet or more away from the basket, he's really struggling more than he has in years. And that's the thing that's been kind of a mystery, is why it's been this bad for him, on the shooting end, because he's getting to the rim, he's hitting shots at the rim, but when it comes to three-point shooting, I think it's his worst since his rookie year. When it comes to shots in that mid-range, he's struggling in the 15 out to the perimeter range. It's one of his worst since I think his second year in the NBA. So I don't know if it's correlated maybe to, he's played a lot of minutes in the first half of the season as well, but he doesn't seem to show any fatigue sometimes. I mean, we've seen him back-to-back nights. I mean, I remember we talked about that the last time he had me on, was that, he comes up with one of his best games on the second night of a back-to-back. So that it's kind of a mystery to see what it is, but yeah, it's definitely a drop-off from what he's normally used to providing his teams.
Yeah, and you know what? When Dragon was out, he had to kind of make sure that he was a little bit more on par. Last night, having Dragon back, man, he had a stretch where he was important. Tyler had a stretch where he helped out in a big-time way, because this was such a low-scoring game that offense was at a premium, and those two guys had their moments where they really lifted the team.
Yeah, especially I think Goran, because I think it was a real, they hit a real rough patch on offense early on in the first quarter, a little bit after, and then he comes in and sparks the team. And that, to me, is one of the biggest values to have Goran on this team. I know he's in the last year of his contract. There's some talk of, should you move him if there's a chance to add someone later, before the deadline. But I mean, to me, he's the kind of guy that you would want to keep just because of that chemistry he has with the young guys, the experience he brings, and then most importantly, that he comes off the bench, he gives you that. He's still one of the best defenders overall on the team, and that's something that can't be understated, because a lot of these young players, we've seen what they can do on the offensive side, but they're still toning up the defensive side of the ball in a lot of individual cases there. And that's where Goran comes in. When you have a guy, maybe aside from Butler, he's right there, maybe top 2, 3, I think, as far as defense goes on the team. So that's his value to the young team as you go forward and you get into the nitty gritty now come February and March.
I'm with Andre Fernandez, of course, from The Athletic, joining us to talk a little Miami Heat as the Heat defeated the Raptors last night, 84-76. What is it about this team that they have the resiliency of bouncing back? They are not habitual in dropping bad games. It is a team that really is taking care of the home court advantage. Why are they wired different? Is it just because you got rid of Whiteside? Is it because these young guys are much more mature than what we expected? Have you been able to put your finger on why this team has got, so much, character in a way?
I mean, some of those are all factors in it. I mean, I think what you just said about the guy who's coming in, who happens to be coming back on Sunday to see his old team, I think that did have some to do with it. I think, say what you want about Whiteside, but there were times where there were distractions with him and, things of that nature. And I think having that out of the locker room, has helped. And then on top of that, you have guys, you bring in a guy like Jimmy Butler with his experience and behind the scenes, his voice, along with Udonis Haslem, because going to Udonis, we know how influential he is in the locker room, but he's obviously not playing it anymore. He plays, single digits for the whole season. So to have a coupled those veterans, with Goran and just all kind of like that same voice, kind of preaching the same message, of what they're all about, the principles of this team. We know the kind of standard they've established over the years. To just have that echoing in the ears of these young guys has really, really instilled the team in them quickly. And I think that's what it is. I think you got that plus the combination of a lot of these guys are still, hungry, eager to prove themselves. We've kind of spoiled in 34 games of how well they've done, but really, if you take a step back, it's not a long time. So a lot of guys still have to kind of prove themselves, and they're eager to prove themselves, like the Kendrick Nunns, the Duncan Robinsons, the Tyler Heroes. All these guys, want to show it and show that they're here for the long run, that this isn't just a fluky start for them.
Well, hey, Nunn, second time he wins Rookie of the Month. First time an undrafted player has won that honor twice. Second time a Heat player has won it multiple times. Caron Butler did it also in his rookie season. This is really amazing with this young man. How does he handle himself off the court when you guys are dealing with him?
Well, when I see him in the locker room, I mean, you wouldn't know he's there. The guy is like very quiet in the like as far as like with his teammates, he interacts well, but he looks like the type of guy that fits in. Not an issue at all. Like he's a hard worker. They can't say enough about just the commitment that this kid has shown, to getting better every game, every practice. He sits there and he watches film, with guys like Udonis and just tries to absorb everything he can to just become a better player. And you've started to see that over the first, 2 months of the season. I mean, it's incredible, obviously, to the level that he's taken it this year, but at the same time, you're not that surprised that the kid has had a spike in success because of the way that he approaches the game, the way he approaches just studying it and developing overall his craft.
So it really is amazing how that kid has responded. All right, yesterday I'm watching the game, and at the end when they're holding on to the ball and then they finally turn it over instead of shooting, I saw Spo's face, right? And at first I go, man, was he kind of bothered that was a turnover? And then sure enough, in the press conference, he kind of talked about it in tongue-in-cheek, but deep down inside, it was really bothering him that they had to take that team turnover and that he would rather them just jack up a three. He doesn't care if you miss it, but he'd rather you have the missed shot than the turnover, and it really shows how much turnovers have bothered his ass all season long.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the ugly stain on a lot of the load of good things that have happened this year. They're still 28th, 29th in the NBA right now as far as turnovers go, and yeah, you don't want a meaningless one at the end of every game. That comes at the cost of putting a team away. And then the competitive side, and that's like half like the perfectionist side and half like the competitive side of Spo too. He's like, keep going to the final whistle. Like, just throw it up, chuck it up. Who cares? Like, if they want to say what they want to say, which they haven't, and obviously most of the time probably the team wouldn't care, like you pointed out. But it's just funny to see. Like, it's funny how he sweats the little things sometimes like that.
Yeah, no, and then he goes, because I'm riding Bam's ass about the turnovers. So Bam ends up looking at his coach after the turnover because he knew that Spo would be bothered by it. And here's the weird part. You just talked about it right now, which is also odd to even say it. It's like it's the ugly thing in this season, and really, there's nothing ugly in this season. So what if you have some turnovers, dude? You're overcoming it. You're freaking 25-9. You're good.
And who wouldn't love seeing Bam jack up a 30-footer just for the hell of it?
Why not?
Yeah.
But you know what? You could tell Spo, you could pull him aside and say, Coach, don't worry about it. If you had Whiteside last year, he probably would have jacked that shot up anyway.
But he would have shot it from 40. Forget about 30.
Exactly. That is awesome.
Yeah.
The other thing that I was going to ask you, they've got the Magic now coming up. This has been a team that's been a thorn in their side, but this year, this team takes these games seriously. I know they dropped the Memphis game, and I know Washington shot lights out, and a whole bunch of unknowns came off the bench to score 80 points, and that was flukish as it is. But that's what I love about this team, that I'm always fearful of this game the last couple of years. Now I kind of go into this game thinking, okay, these guys are going to be pros about this. They're going to be professional about this game.
Yeah, well, a couple of things, and I think early on, we saw how badly they were struggling on the second night of a back-to-back, especially when it had to be on the road. So, but the last couple times, it's been a little bit better. They won, I think, a couple of them. But we have seen, like I said, we've seen those kind of aberration games where they go out and nothing's working, like the Wizards game, even the Memphis game on the defensive side of the ball, turning the ball over. So I'm curious to see the one thing that could work in their favor is obviously Orlando lost one of their best players yesterday. I think Jonathan Isaac's going to be out. Looks like at least a couple months. So that's a big loss for the Magic. They're right there on the 8th seed on the fringe. Let's see if they stay in it. But I think that could work a little bit in the Heat's favor. But overall, I think that's why last night was a lot of bad Raptors shooting, like we said, but it was a very good defensive effort, a good bounce back after that ugly performance the other day in DC. But let's see if it was just last night, or let's see if they can carry this over. It's tough anytime you do it within 24 hours, but if you at least see a game that, even if it's not, on the, even if it's not perfect, but at least if you see that defensive, improvement carry over into a game tonight, that's important.
Follow him on Twitter, Fernandez Andre C. Catch his work at The Athletic. Subscribe. It's only a couple of bucks a month, literally just a couple of dollars a month, okay? And you get the entire country and all of our local teams there at The Athletic. Andre, as always, my brother, thank you for taking some time. Drive safely. Enjoy the game tonight.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks for having me. Talk soon.
You got it, baby. You be good. There you go, Andre Fernandez, man. Excellent work, as always, by Mr. Fernandez, and thank you all out there. I see William Kwan says, it's great to have found you on your show. Used to listen to you for years at QAM. Well, you can listen every day, and you can download the podcast. Remember, you go to SoundCloud, iTunes, Big O Radio Show, 4 hours every day, although Fridays now it's 5 hours because we do 2 now, which we're wrapping up now at 11 o'clock here. And then we're going to go to Hialeah Park, and we'll be on between 1 and 4. So we're going to be on again between 1 and 4. And Jeff Sheesby is going to join us at 1 o'clock, oldmanwhobets.com. We're going to have our handicapping segment at 1 o'clock. Jacob Turner, who covers Utah State. He covers Jordan Love at Utah State. Today, our QB draft focus turns to Jordan Love and Jason Turner, who is going to join us from the Herald Journal at 2 o'clock. Will Carroll, the injury expert, will stop by at 2:30, and then we'll have a Dolphin president at 4. I think we're working on another guest, too, that we are going to maybe have in that 3 o'clock hour. So we got all kinds of folks that are going to join us here on the program. So we've got a loaded program for you here. Remember, if you're watching on YouTube, please hit the thumbs up button, all that, to get us more trending and get more people as you like
go walk around the neighborhood, have the guy next door, everybody, YouTube us. And your brother's cousin's uncle that lives down the street, get him too.
Thumbs up the broadcast right there, the little thumbs up button. Make sure you hit it and get us going there. Get it flowing, as they say. Okay, that's what we need. Get it flowing. I even hit it right now myself. Am I supposed to do that? Should I do that?
You should do it 3 times, 4 times.
Okay, we'll do it 3 or 4 times. How about that?
Do you really want to go and get those gator bites, man?
I don't mind.
Because, I mean, if you'll do that, I'm serious. I'm going to forget the chicken marsala today. I'm going to have the churrasco steak,
the
skirt steak. Yeah, so I'm gonna
Look at you. He's going churrasco now.
I'm gonna have a churrasco
At Hialeah Park. Their food is so good.
Yeah, it is. And with
Food
with the gator bites, man,
Yeah.
I don't have to eat dinner.
Yeah, no, you'll be fine. Yeah, I think I'll get some gator bites for us. Why not? It's a beautiful thing.
What a guy! What a guy!
Did you get that thing that I left? Yeah, you did, right? Yeah. Okay. All right. I just want to make sure I don't want to fly away or anything with
You
the
know
wind.
something, man? You've done 2 hours already.
We've done 2 hours. That's amazing. 2 freaking hours already. And by the way, congratulations to the Panthers yesterday. That was a nice little win yesterday. And that second period was like orgasmic, exploding for 4 goals. It's like every time you looked, there was a goal. It was awesome. It kind of locked it in, and the game was over after that, man.
You ready for this, though? Because I was thinking about this last night. Obviously doing the back and forth, okay? If the Heat were able to cut down on their turnovers, and if the Panthers would stop giving up the puck in our zone, because the first goal,
yes,
there it is.
Right.
We didn't clear the zone. Bada bing, there's the guy, scored.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if those two teams could take care of those problems they have,
oh yeah,
imagine how much better we would be. Can you imagine?
Well, I mean, the Panthers just got to fix their defense because their defense is just, you know. Michael Mata says, morning, may the force be with you. Thank you, Michael. Ty from the Bronx says, thanks for asking Jim Nagy about Jordan Love. Wow. Well, we're going to ask him about Jordan Love anyway. And we have our QB focus today is Jordan Love. Let's see what else. Drew Bo goes to William. Please hit the like button for Big O. Nice job by you, Drew Bo. Looking out. What else do we have here? Anything else? More interaction. I love how you guys are interacting with each other on the chat board, not just with me. That is fantastic. I think that is super, super cool. All right, we are going to wrap it up here, and then we are now headed over to Hialeah Park. We'll be on in 2 hours over at Hialeah Park from 1 to 4. We got some guests. I got a bunch of other things that I want to get to and talk about around the NFL. We got some gambling stuff that we're going to talk about.
In case you're headed over there, it's the Champions Simulcast Center that we're at.
Yes, because some of you guys go to the poker room because we're there every day, every Friday at the poker room. For the next 4 weeks, this is week 3 now, we are in the Champions Simulcast Center. So we'll be there today and then next Friday. And then after that, we'll go back to the poker room. So if you are going to Hialeah Park and you're going to meet us while we're out there, we'll be out there between 12 and 5, basically, but broadcasting 1 to 4. You can go to the Champions Simulcast Center and wager on the tracks all across the country. In fact, I'm going to be wagering myself on a couple of tracks across the country.
You know something, the way that room is, man? It's got the age in it. And you almost feel like being in the movie The Shining.
Oh, yeah.
Everything was huge and elaborate back in the day.
Yeah.
It's like you feel like you walk back in time. To correlate, if you guys ever been to the Breakers Hotel, same idea.
Yes, exactly. All right, so on behalf, of course, of Larry Schlossberg and all the amazing people out here at Craig Zinn's, Acura of Pembroke Pines, folks, and let me tell you, man, they've got awesome deals going on. They will always make you some great deals here at Craig Zinn's. 2019 models, the ILX is $189. 2020 models, the TLX is $209. The RDX $309. The MDX $339. Only $29.99 do-it signing, plus tax tag and registration, folks. So tell them that Big O sent you. If you want to come on out here and buy an Acura or lease an Acura, tell them that Big O sent you. We appreciate it. Take care of the sponsors that are taking care of us and making this thing happen every single day right here at Craig Zinn's, Acura of Pembroke Pines. We'll see you guys in a couple of hours. We'll be back live at 1 o'clock from Hialeah Park.
Enjoy your lunch.